Hello, I just wanted to pick up on the project from where you've got your structure chart and writing in the Python code from there, and hopefully if you've got a flowchart as well. So we're merging those things together. Firstly, let's have a look at that. That was the structure chart which I built, and it's really important we've managed to break this down correctly. So we've broken down the main program into the different parts, and then each of those parts into what it comprises of. So we've basically said if we had to write an enter RLE function, it would be a lot easier if we had those two functions to deal with. Once we've done that, what we need to do is load up Thonny. And what we can essentially do is write a function for all of these. The first one, top level, we tend to call it main, is neither here nor there what you call it, but main is traditional for the first thing, and then we're just going on each of those. I tend to write in this format, which is called camel case. So a lowercase first word, but then for every other word you capitalize the first letter. That means that when you glance at it, then it's really easy to see what it says, and it's all one word, so you're not going to have any issues on code. Remember that a function name of that isn't going to work. At this point, it's probably worth writing on each of them a hashtag and then what the function is doing, and if it needs to have anything given to it and needs to return anything. So this is just the main program, does everything. Display menu, prints menu, and gets users option in. So what are we passing into it? Nothing. Out. Just the number that the user selected. Now if we want to be fancy on this, instead of doing that we can say int. So it's going to be an integer, and then what it's going to be. So all I'm doing is I'm copying out each of these and describing what it does at the start. Okay, I'll just whiz through all of those. Okay, so that's all of the functions done. As you can see, it won't do anything at the moment. So even if we call main at the end, which will be calling this main bit of the program, it will just go into that, say pass, which is nothing, and then it will finish. So let's have a quick look at this. So the first one is display menu. We can give this one a go now. And the main is, what does it need to do? Well, it needs to display the menu, and then if, let's comment this first, if option 1 selected, then we want to run enter RLE. Voila, so if option 1 is selected, that means that we need to get something back from this. So we can just say if option equals 1, enter RLE. And then we do the next one and so on. This will run it all once. I believe we're gonna have option 5, which is quit, so that is enter RLE, that is quit. Do make good use of these hashtags. And then we want something here for pass. Now if you're thinking about this structure, you can do a flowchart if you want. It's basically going to be going round and round until option 5 is selected. So if we're doing going round and round, we're doing a loop. We don't know how many times we're going round, therefore it's an unconditional loop. Therefore that's a while. And what are we going until? Well, we're going until the user selects the option of 5. So while it's not equal to 5, do all of these. Now we need to make sure that we set option to something. Doesn't really matter what, because we're going to change it, just need to make sure it's not 5. Okay, and then we got menu, which is just printing the menu. There are some other things in there, but we'll keep it nice and simple for now. So now we're just asking the user what option. And we've said we want an integer to be returned, so answer equals the integer of answer, just convert it into an integer, and then we can return it. Let's try this program, see what it does. So it says enter RLE or quit. We're going to select 5 and it quits. If we select 1, it comes up with option again. That is a working program. Yes, there's only the display menu section, but that section is working beautifully. We can then work our way through the different parts and get each different section working. I'm going to have a look at where is it? Decompress RLE. So this takes an RLE and returns the ASCII. So I've said that it will take in a string and it will return a string. Now, a previous video, I created a flowchart, specifically this one. So what we're going to do quickly is just convert this flowchart into Python code. If you're running into any issues, I'd recommend just putting in lots of print statements. So we can even just do print, starting decompress, and then we're essentially just taking the code from here. So we're setting result to 0, to an empty string, there we go. We're setting index to 0, there we go. Now there's a section there where the loop is coming back. So we're just going to leave a gap there and then continue on the next bit. Oops. Count equals word. Okay, we're using word here and we haven't actually used it before. That's because it's something which will need to come in. So we're expecting word to be here. Now if word is here, then when we're calling decompress RLE, which according to this is from enter RLE, when we call decompress RLE, we'll have to make sure we give the word with it. Okay, okay, that's everything, back to where we were. Letter equals word, index plus 1, result equals result plus count times letter. Okay, this is going to cause an error later, but we'll have a look to see what the error is first, because fixing these things is useful. Index equals index plus 2, and then what we've got down here is if the index is less than the word, then continue. So again, we've got an iterative structure. That means we've got a loop, and we're keeping going until this particular thing is true. So we can put a loop. Now in Python, all of the loops go at the start, not at the end, so we're going to need to put something for that up here. And it's a while loop, and I'm just going to copy exactly the same condition. Make sure everything inside the loop is tabbed in. It's looking good so far. Now what needs to come out? The ASCII data. Well, that's the result. So all I need now is return the result to send it back out of that. Now if we run that, it's not actually going to do anything because we haven't called this function anywhere. This is where testing is really nice and easy. I'd take this out and put it in an entirely different file. But for now, let's take that and just go down the bottom. And I'm not going to call main. I'm just going to call decompress hourly with word, and word is going to be, say, 5k for W9 space for E. There we go. So now all this function is doing is calling one particular function with one lot of stuff, and it's then going to print the result. So this has nothing to do with all the rest of my program. All it's doing is testing this one tiny bit. It's ignoring everything else, and that's the way to program these bigger projects. Anyway, let's run it, see what happens. Okay, so we got a nasty error. Python was asked to do an operation with an object which doesn't support it. Okay, can't multiply sequence by non-int of type str. Okay, so it's trying to multiply with a string when it should be multiplying with a number. So that's a string, that should be an integer, but as you can see, this is still going to be a string. So all we need to do is change that to an integer, run it again, there we go. If you are getting random issues, like I said, with the print statement there, just putting in more print statements. Putting in these print statements all through, then you can see where things are breaking. You can include things like index, in loop, index is. And now when you run it, you can see that the index is looping up as we'd expect. So that's the best way to be doing debugging, and something which you'll need to be doing. Anyway, we've gone from a structure chart and a flowchart, and we've made just loads of functions. We've then made a simple menu, and we've taken the flowchart, made it into a function and tested it on its own. Now that I'm happy that this is working, I can take out my test step code and go back to main and try and link it up properly. But I do that testing individually with all of the different functions to show that each one individually works, and then slowly build it up together. Anyway, I'd recommend going through that process with your project, trying to get all the functions, trying to describe what each of the functions is going to be doing, what is it taking in, and what is it returning. Then you can start making them individually. Then it makes it a lot easier to stitch them together. Okay, best of luck.